Ethan, as I'd mentioned when we sat down, enormous fan of this movie, enormous fan of you. This is such a unique look into a style of warfare, a video game style of warfare, unlike anything we've ever seen. There are people in Las Vegas literally playing video games and taking people's lives. Talk to me about bringing this story to life because, again, there's so much curiosity around this world, and to actually see it brought in the form of a movie is just so cool.
You know, it's kind of the privilege of this situation is whenever, as an actor, whenever you get to play things unique to your generation, you know, and this generation of soldiers is the first to be asked to be a drone pilot. What does that mean to remote control unmanned aircraft and making mortal decisions half a planet away? And it's a kind of unique mentality that's new. And certainly in the history of relationship to cinema and war, it was exciting to be a part of for that. And I also think that part of the artistic community's job is to tell stories that are relevant to our time, to the moment that we're living in, to give ourselves a context and a vocabulary so we can discuss what the drone program is. Most of us as citizens don't really have any idea what it means. We hear that the troops are coming home from Afghanistan, everybody's happy. Well, but we don't really know what it means and why they're coming home and what, is this the right way to win the war? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I love the opportunity to tell soldier stories because they don't, you know, they're not allowed or they don't want to be critical of their position. It's our job to tell the story.
One of the things that I really loved about this movie, Ethan, was the chemistry that we see with the cast, that we see with you in January, and showing two people who are essentially fighting a different war at home. And that's really what this movie is about. There's two wars going on simultaneously. We have the war that he's fighting on the field, but then he comes home and he's fighting a whole different war. Talk to me about blending those two stories together and making it work.
Well, it's a kind of classic story of somebody compartmentalizing their life to such an extent that they end up kind of losing their footing in either world. You know, they're bouncing back and forth so much that they just don't have any balance. And I think that he's lost his identity. There's a kind of philosophical identity crisis happening about for the Air Force and for what it's. You spend your life training how to fly an F-16 fighter, and you have immense pride in doing that. And it's a tough thing to lose that identity and be asked just to fly this Predator around and from a little GCS trailer. You know, I think his moral conundrum is not one of ethically whether we should be in the war or not. He misses his own warrior's credo.
One of the things I love with this movie, Ethan, is it is such a unique perspective in seeing you as an actor. We're so used to seeing you with verbal, outgoing, almost gregarious-like characters, and yet this guy couldn't be any more of the opposite. He's a guy who's retreated inside of himself and essentially, as January was telling me earlier, becomes a brick wall. Talk to me about bringing that character to life and really getting away from other types of characters that you've done before.
Well, that was one of the challenges of this movie. Andrew called me up. He said, you know, you're an incredibly verbal person. I'm like, yeah. He goes, I want to give you a part where you don't get to use that at all. And it's really almost a silent performance. You know, I talk a couple times in the movie. It's a person who doesn't like what he has to say. He doesn't like the way he's thinking. He's trying to have the vodka kill those thoughts. That generally doesn't, it works for a moment, but it doesn't have any kind of long-term help. So he's just kind of slowly losing all his balance. And it's a wonderful character.